Questions. Good morning, everyone. Let me start with a simple question. How many of you want to be happy? Please raise your hands. So wait, smile. An interesting thing is, everyone wants happiness. Questions. But very few people practice happiness. We treat happiness like a destination, but happiness is actually a daily discipline. Today, I am not going to tell you how to become rich, questions, or how to impress people, or how to silence your critics. I am going to tell you one daily habit that, if done sincerely, questions, will make you so strong from inside that nothing, yes, nothing will steal your happiness. Questions. Most people live their entire lives believing that happiness is something they will reach one day. They say, when I get that job, I'll be happy. When I buy that house, questions, I'll finally relax. When people understand me, then I'll smile freely. Happiness becomes like a faraway city on the map, always visible, never arrived at. Questions. But the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Happiness is not a place you reach, it is a habit you practice. Just like brushing your teeth or charging your phone, happiness needs daily attention. Questions. If you ignore it, decay begins quietly. Think about physical health. No one says, I went to the gym once last year, so now I should be fit forever. That sounds ridiculous. Questions. Health requires daily movement, daily choices, daily discipline. In the same way, emotional and mental happiness requires daily effort. One good day does not guarantee a happy life. Questions. One positive thought does not protect you from a negative week. Happiness is built the same way a wall is built, brick by brick, day by day. Look at a very simple daily life example. Questions. Your mobile phone. Every night you plug it in for charging. You don't wait until the battery is completely dead and the phone shuts down permanently. You charge it before it collapses. Questions. Now ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you charged your own happiness? When was the last time you sat with yourself quietly, without noise, without scrolling, without comparison? Questions. Just to recharge your inner battery. Most people wait until they are exhausted, frustrated, or broken before they think about happiness. By then, repair becomes harder. People often say, questions, I don't have time to be happy. But that is like saying, I don't have time to breathe. The truth is, happiness is not about extra time. It is about daily intention. Questions. It is not something you squeeze into life when everything else is done. It is something you carry into whatever you are doing. You can drink tea happily or unhappily. Questions. You can travel to work peacefully or angrily. The situation remains the same, the practice changes. Observe a child for a moment. A child doesn't postpone happiness. If they get a small chocolate, questions, they enjoy it fully. If they laugh with their whole body. But as adults, we keep happiness on hold. We tell ourselves, not now. Questions. After this problem is solved, and life keeps adding new problems, happiness gets postponed again and again, until one day we wake up and realize we forgot how to be happy in the present moment. Questions. Daily practice of happiness means choosing small things consciously. It means noticing the warmth of sunlight instead of rushing with complaints. Questions. It means appreciating food instead of eating with stress. It means listening to someone fully instead of planning your reply. These are not grand spiritual acts. Questions. These are ordinary moments lived with awareness. And awareness is the soil where happiness grows. Many people misunderstand happiness as excitement. Excitement is loud and temporary. Questions. Happiness is calm and steady. Excitement comes when something good happens. Happiness stays even when nothing special happens. That stability only comes with daily practice. Questions. If you depend on events to be happy, your happiness will be unstable because life itself is unstable. But if you depend on habits, your happiness becomes independent of circumstances. Questions. Imagine a person who wakes up every day and immediately checks their phone. Messages, news, comparisons, problems. Before the mind is even awake, it is already polluted. Then they ask questions. Why am I unhappy? It is because they never gave their mind a chance to start fresh. Happiness requires clean mental space, and clean space requires daily discipline. Questions. You cannot pour clean water into a dirty glass and expect purity. Happiness as a daily practice also means forgiveness as a daily practice. Questions. Carrying yesterday's anger into today is like drinking poison every morning and expecting someone else to suffer. Letting go is not weakness, it is hygiene. Emotional hygiene. Questions. Just as you bathe your body daily, you must bathe your mind daily, washing away resentment, comparison, and regret. Otherwise, emotional dirt accumulates silently. People often say, questions. I'll be happy when life becomes easier. But life doesn't become easier, you become stronger. And that strength is built through daily inner work. Questions. Happiness grows when you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating inner stability in imperfect conditions. When you treat happiness as a destination, you become desperate. Questions. When you treat it as a daily practice, you become peaceful. One creates anxiety, the other creates balance. Happiness is not found at the end of the journey. It is how you walk the journey. Questions. If you remember this one truth and live it daily, happiness stops being fragile. It stops being dependent on people, praise, or success. It becomes your inner climate, not the outer weather. Questions. And when happiness becomes a practice, not a promise of the future, life becomes lighter, calmer, and deeply fulfilling. One ordinary day at a time. Questions. Most people believe that their happiness is stolen by situations, by rude people, unfair treatment, unexpected losses, or stressful circumstances. We often say things like, questions. That person ruined my mood, or this situation destroyed my peace. But if we pause and look deeper, an uncomfortable truth appears. Questions. The situation did not steal our happiness. Our reaction to it did. The same situation can make one person calm and another person miserable. The difference is not life, the difference is reaction. Questions. Think about daily traffic. Two people are stuck in the same jam. One person listens to music, breathes slowly, and accepts the delay. The other honks endlessly, complains, questions, insults strangers in their mind, and reaches home exhausted. The traffic was the same. The roads were the same. Time was lost equally. But happiness was lost only by one person. Questions. Traffic didn't steal happiness, reaction did. Reactions are automatic for most of us. Someone speaks harshly, and before we even realize it, anger rises. Someone ignores our message. Questions and assumptions begin. Someone succeeds and comparison enters silently. These reactions feel natural, almost justified. But just because something is automatic does not mean it is healthy. Questions. A knee-jerk reaction may protect the body, but emotional knee-jerk reactions slowly damage the mind. Imagine someone accidentally bumps into you and spills coffee on your shirt. Questions. The spill is the situation, the anger, irritation, and day-long frustration that follow. That is the reaction. The stain might fade after washing. Questions. But the emotional disturbance can last the whole day, affecting your work, your conversations, and even your sleep. The problem was not the coffee. Questions. It was the way the mind held on to the moment and replayed it again and again. Many people think reacting strongly shows power. They believe silence means weakness and calm means suppression. Questions. But true strength is not in loud reactions. It is in controlled responses. A person who reacts to everything becomes a puppet in the hands of the world. Every comment pulls a string. Questions. Every situation presses a button. Happiness becomes fragile because it is always at the mercy of external triggers. Look at how children react versus adults. Questions. A child may cry intensely for a few minutes when something goes wrong, but then they move on completely. Adults do the opposite. They may remain silent. Questions. But inside they replay the incident for hours or days. They analyze, imagine arguments, and relive the pain. The event ends, but the reaction continues. Happiness is not stolen in the moment. Questions. It is stolen in the replay. Reactions also come from expectations. When we expect people to behave a certain way and they don't, disappointment turns into irritation. Questions. We rarely react to strangers the same way we react to close ones. Why? Because expectations are different. The higher the expectation, the stronger the reaction. And the stronger the reaction, questions, the greater the loss of peace. Think of social media. Someone posts a comment. It takes 1 second to read, but it can disturb you for hours. You may close the app, questions, but the comment stays open in your mind. The phone is in your pocket, but the reaction is sitting on your chest. Happiness leaks through such small holes daily, unnoticed, questions, until one day you feel emotionally drained without knowing why. The most dangerous reactions are internal ones. No one may see them, but they quietly steal joy. Self-criticism, overthinking, questions, comparing your journey with others. These reactions don't make noise, but they make damage. You might smile outside while your mind is busy reacting inside. And because no one else sees it, questions, you assume it's normal. It is common, but it is not healthy. The truth is, life will always provide triggers. People will say the wrong things. Situations will not go as planned. Questions, you cannot control that. But you can control how long you allow those moments to live inside you. A reaction lasts seconds, suffering lasts because we extend it. Questions. When you understand that reactions are the real thieves of happiness, you regain power. You stop trying to fix everyone and everything. Instead, you start managing your inner world. Questions. You realize that calm is not found by changing the situation, but by changing your relationship with it. Choosing not to react immediately is not denial. It is wisdom. Questions. It is giving yourself the space to decide rather than explode. With practice, reactions slow down, space appears, and in that space, happiness has room to breathe. Life does not steal your happiness. Questions. People do not steal your happiness. Situations do not steal your happiness. Your unchecked reactions do. And the moment you become aware of this, questions, happiness stops being fragile and starts becoming your responsibility. Protected, guarded, and deeply rooted within you. Questions. In the rush of daily life, most of us live on autopilot. Words come out of our mouth before wisdom enters the mind. Emotions rise before understanding has a chance to sit down. Questions. We react so quickly that later we wonder, why did I say that? Or, why did I do that? The damage is rarely caused by the situation itself. It is caused by the absence of a pause. Questions. That tiny moment we skip, the moment between stimulus and response, is where our power actually lives. Think about fire. Fire can cook your food or burn your house down. Questions. What makes the difference? Control. In the same way, emotions are powerful energy. Without pause, they burn relationships. With pause, they warm connections. Questions. The pause is like a protective wall that keeps your emotions from turning into destruction. In daily life, pause feels uncomfortable. Silence feels awkward. Questions. Not reacting immediately feels like losing control. But in reality, the opposite is true. The person who can pause holds control. The person who reacts instantly hands over control to circumstances. Questions. When someone insults you and you immediately retaliate, you are not expressing strength. You are surrendering your peace to their words. Imagine someone sends you a harsh message late at night. Questions. Your heart rate increases. Your fingers are ready to reply. In that moment, the reply may feel satisfying. But the next morning, you often regret the tone, the words, or the escalation. Questions. That regret is proof that a pause was needed. The message didn't need an immediate response. Your emotions needed space. A pause is not suppression. It is digestion. Questions. Just as the body needs time to digest food, the mind needs time to digest emotions. When you pause, emotions settle. What felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What felt personal becomes impersonal. Questions. The situation remains, but the intensity reduces. Look at arguments in families. Most conflicts do not start because of big issues. They start because of small reactions that snowball. Questions. One comment leads to another. One raised voice invites another. If even one person pauses, just for a few seconds, the entire direction of the interaction changes. Questions. Peace often requires only one conscious person in the room. In traffic, at work, at home, pause is your invisible armor. Someone cuts you off on the road. The instinct is anger. But if you pause, questions, you may realize the anger doesn't improve traffic or your day. You reach the same destination either way, but your mental state arrives differently. Questions. The pause saves energy that would otherwise be wasted on irritation. People often say, I can't help reacting, it just happens. That's true until it's not. At one time, questions, driving a car also felt impossible, but with practice it became natural. Pausing is a skill. The more you practice it, the more automatic it becomes. At first, you remember after reacting. Later, questions, you remember during the reaction. Eventually, you remember before reacting. That is growth. A pause gives you perspective. It allows you to ask simple questions. Questions. Is this worth my peace? Will this matter in a week? What is the best version of me in this moment? These questions don't come from impulse, they come from awareness. Questions. And awareness only enters when there is space. Silence is often misunderstood. People think silence means agreement or weakness. But silence can be strength. Silence can be dignity. Questions. Silence can be wisdom choosing not to engage in chaos. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every provocation deserves your energy. A pause helps you decide what deserves you. Questions. The strongest people are not those who dominate conversations, but those who master themselves. They don't rush to defend their ego. They don't rush to prove a point. Questions. They understand that winning an argument at the cost of inner peace is a loss, not a victory. In moments of pause, you reconnect with yourself. You breathe. You slow down. Questions. You remember that you are more than the emotion passing through you. This remembrance is powerful. It keeps you rooted when life tries to pull you into storms. Questions. When you practice pausing daily, before speaking, before reacting, before deciding, life becomes less noisy inside. You respond with intention rather than impulse. Questions. Your words carry weight instead of regret. Your actions reflect wisdom instead of emotion. Pause does not change the world outside you. It changes the world inside you. And when the inside changes, questions, the outside loses its power over you. That is why pause creates power. Quiet, steady, unshakable power that protects your happiness in the middle of everyday chaos. Questions. Most people spend their entire lives believing every thought that enters their mind. A thought appears, and immediately it feels like truth. Questions. I am not good enough. People don't respect me. Something bad is going to happen. These thoughts feel so real that we don't even question them. Questions. We assume that because a thought exists, it must be right. But this is one of the biggest misunderstandings of human life. Thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are events. Questions. And you are not those events. You are the one who notices them. Think about the sky. Clouds move across it all day long. Some clouds are dark, some are light, some disappear quickly. Questions. Some stay longer. But no matter what kind of clouds pass by, the sky itself remains untouched. In the same way, thoughts move through your mind. Some are negative, some are positive, some are fearful. Questions. Some are hopeful, but you are the sky, not the clouds. The problem begins when you forget this and start living inside the clouds. In daily life, this confusion causes silent suffering. Questions. You wake up in the morning and a thought says, today is going to be stressful. Nothing has happened yet, but your body already feels heavy. Another thought says, questions. You always mess things up. Instantly, confidence drops. The day hasn't even started, but happiness is already weakened. The thief here is not the situation, it is the unquestioned thought. Questions. Imagine you are sitting beside a busy road. Cars are passing by continuously. You can watch them calmly without chasing any of them. Thoughts are exactly like those cars. Questions. But most of us don't sit on the side of the road. We jump into every passing car and let it take us wherever it wants. One negative thought can carry us into anxiety. Questions. One memory can pull us into sadness. One comparison can drag us into insecurity. All because we forgot that we had a choice to observe instead of ride. Observation creates distance. Questions. And distance creates freedom. When you say, I am angry, the anger becomes your identity. But when you say, I am noticing anger within me, something shifts. Questions. You are no longer trapped inside the emotion. You are standing outside it, looking at it. That small shift changes everything. The emotion may still be there, but it no longer controls you. Questions. Look at a common daily example. Someone ignores your message. A thought immediately arises, they don't care about me. That thought triggers sadness or irritation. Questions. But if you step back and observe, you may realize, this is just a thought. I don't know the full story. The moment you observe instead of assume, peace enters. Questions. Many relationships are damaged not by reality, but by stories created by unobserved thoughts. The mind's job is to think, just like the heart's job is to be. Questions. You don't blame your heart for beating too fast. When you run, you understand its nature. In the same way, the mind will produce thoughts, even unnecessary, repetitive, negative ones. Questions. The mistake is not having thoughts. The mistake is believing that every thought deserves your attention and energy. Think about how often your mind brings up the past. An old embarrassment, a regret. Questions. A mistake, the event is over, but the thought keeps returning. Each time you identify with it, you suffer again. But if you observe it and say, this is a memory. Questions. Not my present, its power weakens. You cannot stop thoughts from coming, but you can stop them from becoming your identity. Children naturally live as observers. If a child falls, they cry. Questions. But soon they are distracted by something else. Adults, on the other hand, fall mentally and keep falling repeatedly in their mind. They relive the same thought again and again. Questions. Observation is what allows you to move on. Practicing observation does not mean becoming cold or detached from life. It means engaging with life intelligently. You still feel emotions, questions, but you don't drown in them. You still think, but you don't get lost in thought. You become present rather than imprisoned. Questions. A simple daily practice is to watch your thoughts like subtitles on a screen. You don't jump into the movie, you just read them and let them pass. Slowly, you realize something beautiful. Questions. Thoughts lose their intensity when they are watched. They demand attention, and when you stop feeding them, they fade. When you live as the observer, criticism hurts less, praise controls you less. Questions. Fear weakens and peace strengthens. You stop fighting your mind and start understanding it. And in that understanding, happiness becomes stable, not because life is perfect. Questions, but because you are no longer ruled by every thought that passes through you. The moment you realize you are not your thoughts, you reclaim your inner freedom. And with that freedom, questions, happiness no longer depends on what the mind says, it depends on the awareness that listens. Questions. Most emotional suffering does not come from what happens to us, it comes from what happens inside us without our awareness. Pain is often unavoidable. Questions. But suffering is optional, and awareness is what makes the difference. When awareness is absent, emotions control us. When awareness is present, emotions inform us, but no longer imprison us. Questions. Think about touching a hot stove. The moment you become aware of the heat, you pull your hand away. Awareness protects you from prolonged pain. Now think about emotional pain. When anger, jealousy, questions, fear or sadness arises and you are not aware of it, you keep your hand on the stove. You replay conversations. You imagine worst-case scenarios. You relive hurtful moments. The emotion burns longer, questions, deeper and unnecessarily. In daily life, awareness often comes too late. We realize we were angry only after speaking harsh words. We notice stress only after the body starts aching. Questions. We recognize sadness only when motivation disappears. But the earlier awareness enters, the smaller the damage. Just like a small fire is easy to put out, but a wildfire is not. Questions. Emotions are easier to manage when noticed early. Imagine you are driving a car and the fuel warning light turns on. An aware driver notices it and plans to refuel. Questions. An unaware driver keeps driving until the car stops in the middle of the road. Emotional suffering works the same way. Irritation is a warning light. Fatigue is a warning light. Questions. Overthinking is a warning light. Awareness helps you respond before breakdown happens. Most people believe emotions control them. But emotions are not dictators, they are messengers. Questions. Anger may be telling you that a boundary was crossed. Sadness may be telling you that something meaningful was lost. Fear may be telling you to be cautious. When you are aware, questions, you listen to the message without becoming the emotion. When you are unaware, you become the message and lose clarity. Take a simple example, someone criticizes you at work. Without awareness, questions, the mind immediately reacts. Defensiveness, resentment, self-doubt. The entire day becomes heavy. With awareness, you notice the tightening in your chest, the urge to justify yourself. Questions, the emotional shift that noticing itself creates space. In that space, you can ask questions. Is there something useful here? Or do I really need to carry this all day? Awareness doesn't remove the situation, but it reduces the emotional weight you attach to it. Questions. Awareness also protects relationships. Many arguments escalate not because of the issue, but because of unconscious emotions driving the conversation. A small disagreement turns into a character attack. Questions. A simple request becomes a fight. When you are aware of your emotional state, you can pause and choose words more carefully. You stop reacting from hurt and start responding from understanding. Questions. Think about how often the body speaks before the mind listens. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, restlessness, fatigue. These are signals. Questions. Awareness is the ability to listen to these signals before they turn into stress, burnout, or illness. Emotional suffering often hides in the body first. Awareness brings it to light. Questions. Another daily example is comparison. You see someone else succeeding and suddenly there is discomfort. Without awareness, that discomfort turns into envy, self-criticism, or hopelessness. Questions. With awareness, you simply notice comparison is arising. That simple observation weakens its grip. You remember that everyone's journey is different and the emotion loses intensity. Questions. Awareness does not mean constant self-analysis. It means gentle noticing without judgment. You don't criticize yourself for feeling low. You don't label yourself weak for feeling emotional. Questions. You simply notice what is happening inside you, like a compassionate witness. This kindness toward your inner world is what reduces suffering. Most suffering is prolonged because we resist emotions. Questions. We say, I shouldn't feel this way, and that resistance adds another layer of pain. Awareness allows acceptance. Acceptance does not mean liking the emotion. Questions. It means acknowledging its presence without fighting it. And what is accepted often begins to dissolve. When awareness becomes part of daily life, emotional storms pass faster. You still feel sadness, questions, but it doesn't turn into despair. You still feel anger, but it doesn't become bitterness. You still face challenges, but they don't consume your inner peace. Questions. Awareness acts like an anchor in rough waters. The more aware you become, the more you realize that emotions come and go, but you remain. This realization brings stability. Questions. Life continues to be unpredictable, but your inner response becomes steady, And in that steadiness, emotional suffering loses its power, making room for clarity, balance, questions, and quiet happiness in everyday life.